What is going on, everybody? Justin here, aka No Good Comics, and welcome back to the channel. This is episode 79 of Comic Collector Origins. So, yeah, pumped to be back here on this Saturday. Hope everybody's doing well. If you're not familiar with Comic Collector Origins, this is the show where I bring on guests from the comic book community and I interview them about their origin story. We always talk about, origins of superheroes and first appearances and so on and so forth. So I figure why not flip the script and talk a little bit about the collectors and the readers of this great hobby. And great people that I've met through this this community of comic book lovers. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Appreciate everybody who's been tuning in throughout the past, 2 years or so that I've been doing this. I had announced a couple weeks ago that I will be doing a little bit of a break during the summer / mid-fall after June for these shows. So I will be back in November after we finish things up here in June. Have a couple of guests lined up to finish out the month. And that's mainly because I have a bunch of trade shows, Comic-Cons, other expos, and all sorts of crazy stuff that's going on that it's just breaking up the months week in and week out. So I'll still be doing videos. I'll still be live randomly talking about books randomly and hanging out with friends as I usually do. But specifically Comic Collector Origins, we will be back in November after we wrap up this month. But again, appreciate everybody who's supported the channel, continues to support the channel, and look forward to hanging out with more people because this has been, this is what it's all about for me. It's not only just reading the comics, but hanging out and talking comics with the people that I've been meeting through this community. And I've turned so many of them into friends, every single one of them into a friend. So it's been really great. So again, if you're watching this, whether you're here live right now or if you're watching the replay, appreciate you. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So today, as you see, I got my gear ready because I'm going to a Yankee game. Pumped for that. Actually going to be hitting that up a little bit later today. It starts at like 7:15. So really excited, kind of carrying on the birthday celebration from earlier in the week. So should be a good time. And so speaking of Yankees, it's funny because my guest for today, he's actually, pretty sure he's not a Yankee fan, but we have this connection because his team, from what I just learned, is actually going to be here in New York tonight playing, as they've been since yesterday, talking about the Cubs. And well, my guest for today is Mark from Mark Nerdy AF over on Instagram. If you guys do not follow him, you certainly should. It's got a great personality, lively, positive energy, great content coming out. So let me bring my man Mark on. Mark, what is going on, brother?
Hey, Justin, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Thanks for taking some time here to hang out. This is the first time we've been able to stream live. I've caught you, streaming before on YouTube and doing your shows and stuff, and I'm always in the chat or vice versa, but nice to share the screen with you here.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've actually chatted live. I mean, we go back and forth on Instagram a lot, but yeah,
totally.
It's great to sit down and talk to you for once. And this might be the most tense episode you have yet because I am a diehard Cubs fan, I guess you'll say. And yeah, they're playing the Cubs today, so that should be interesting. I expect them to lose, but we'll see.
You never know. Last night was very close. We went through 13 innings or whatever before we finally scored. So you never know. You never know. But yeah, man, I appreciate you being on here. We will definitely talk some sports here a little bit later, and also Chicago a little bit later, because I will be in your neck of the woods coming for C2E2, not too far from here. So July, I believe, end of July. So I don't know if you're planning to go to that, but we might have to plan a meet up or something.
I think it's the first week in August.
Oh, that's right. First week in August. Yeah, you're right. I have another one right before that.
San Diego.
There's Terrificon. Oh, and that, yes, yep. There's Terrificon over here on the East Coast, and then all sorts of goodness, man. So yeah, if anybody here, whether if you're watching right now, if you're watching the replay, if you are not following Mark or subbed up to him, I put all his information in the description below. Mark, I just took your whole link that what do you call it? The my mind just went blank. The tree link or link tree, yeah. So I just threw that in the description below along with your Instagram account, and so anybody not following Mark, they should put his information in the description below. Absolutely, man. And by the way, let me just comment real quick before we say hello to the chat. Really, really cool statues that you have behind you, man. I saw you post some stuff. Yeah. I saw you asking what order you should keep them in and all this stuff. I love how you got the posters and stuff behind it. So really nice display.
Yeah, I'm super type A. I actually just got a it's like a Jim Lee poster portfolio. Here, I'll try to get it up.
Oh,
Got some small like poster prints, all Jim Lee right there that I just put up.
heck yeah.
Um,
Very cool.
but yeah, that's one of my obsessions. And
Nice.
have a very obsessive personality growing up, whether it be like getting into skateboarding or collecting Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. I go all in.
All in. Yeah, I was gonna say we're the same way, man. Same way. So that's cool. Well, we'll get into all that because I am curious about how this started for you. But before we do, let's say a quick load of the chat. I see a couple people hanging out right now. We got my man Kevin Entropy in Comics. What's going on, Kevin? He says, greetings, community. Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. We also got my brother Sove Collector, Michael, hanging out. Happy Saturday. Hello, Justin. Nice to meet you, Mark. He says, good to see you, Michael.
Nice to meet you.
Let's see. We got Ryan, aka Magic Lasso, hanging out with us today as well. Good to see you, Ryan. Mercy Collectibles, Andres, all the way from Sweden, hanging out with us. Andres, I just shared that reel from you, or that I made of the gift that you gave me. So I appreciate you, man, for sending me those books. Really nice AOK from you, Andres. So appreciate you hanging out with us here as well. Michael's saying no. I'm not sure what he's saying no to. Maybe the Yankees. I know I get that a lot sometimes, so I'm not sure. But good to see you. Let's see. We got Chet. He says, "Boo! Happy belated birthday! Appreciate you, man. I know he is not a Yankee fan at all, but Chet, always a pleasure, my friend." Let's see. He says, Mark, hey, my biggest client is because of Jake Arrieta. Oh, okay. Nice.
I met Jake Arrieta at a Blink-182 concert in Chicago.
Oh, shoot. Nice.
Yeah. He was just
but that's
at
the picture,
bar
right?
next to me. Yeah.
Is that the picture?
He was at the bar next to me. I'm like, to my friend, I was like, is that Jake Arrieta? He's just grabbing Bud Lights. And I was like,
oh, nice.
What's up, man?
Was he down to earth? Was he cool?
Yeah,
Nice.
he was a cool guy. Bigger than I thought he was. Yeah, pitchers
Oh,
are big dudes usually.
I was gonna say usually they end up being like super tall and a little different when they're on the mound. But
yeah,
very cool. We got my friend Naman in the chat, a comic bookworm. What's going on, Naman? Good to see you. Yes, he says Jim Lee and Yu-Gi-Oh. He's all about that stuff, all about it. Yep, absolutely. Oh, but he's booing the hiatus. Yeah, sorry, Michael. That's because I'm going to be hanging with you like half the time at all these Comic Cons and stuff. So you'll understand. We got Unruly Simeon in the house. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for stopping in. And my man Steve, Hip Hops and me, representing the Team Nerd Herd podcast. Steve, always good to see you, brother. All right. We got everybody in the chat right now. If anybody has questions for Mark, just throw them in the comment section. Otherwise, make sure you're subbed up to him. Follow him over on Instagram as well. And Mark, dude, let's get into this. I am very curious. Cool. You put out a lot of different content. I love the videos. Mm-hmm. You're at your shops every new comic book day, buying all the new good stuff. I think we are very much in line with a lot of the books that we're reading as well. But it seems that you're all over the place, very much like myself, exploring, some indies here and there, reading some Marvel, obviously DC, very much into as well. So seems like we're on the same page. So with all that being said, when did this hobby start for you? How old were you? Who got you? Was there someone that influenced you to get into comic books and reading? Was it the shows and the cartoons and things like that? But, tell us a little bit about your environment and how old you were when you got into it.
Sure. Yeah. So when I was about, I would say like 7 years old, my mom would always take me to, every time after we ran an errand, or if I had some type of doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, my like treat growing up she would take me to this discounted toy store, I guess. Mm-hmm. And they would always have short boxes of comic books. And I actually have the first one I ever pulled here.
Hold that up again. What's that one?
This is Showcase 93 it's from the Nightfall run.
Two-Face. Cool.
Two-Face 14.
Very nice.
And obviously the art is what gravitated me towards this book, being that young. Yeah. But she would take me to this toy store and they were 25, 50-cent comics. And I used to just rummage through them and grab the ones that I liked. And being that young, I would take those things with me everywhere. I wouldn't put it down. I don't know if I necessarily understood the whole plot of the comic, but just reading over and looking at all the art over and over again, that's kind of what got me hooked. Mm-hmm. And I also was big into drawing growing up. So,
cool.
I remember going into the grocery store. I would buy like those little booklets of Archie, and I would trace a lot of like the Archie characters and do things like that. Nice. And I also remember there was during the 90s. So I was born in 91. So this was like late 90s probably. They started producing these they were like X-Men trace books, but they weren't like coloring books. They were actually like booklets, and they had all like the Jim Lee X-Men art, and they would have like a tissue type transparent paper over it, so you could like trace out who did the Magneto, where he's the like iconic cover where he's, you know, just his hands up in the air. I remember just drawing all these comic characters and tracing them and just being infatuated with it. So that's kind of what got me into comics. I, of course, started growing up more, getting into sports, chasing girls, all that kind of stuff, and fell out of reading comics and collecting comics. And I did the whole fraternity thing in college. So it wasn't the coolest thing, but I always went to all the Batman movies that came out. Always saw all the Marvel films. Whether it be by myself, because a lot of my friends weren't into that sort of thing. But 7 years ago, I jumped on a podcast with my friend, and we've been doing it since every week. And he's a huge comic book guy. And I would say, like 6 years ago, I went back into the comic book shop, was introduced to indie comics, which I never even realized existed, and picked up. Froze there for a second. Still there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Yep. I can hear you. Am I coming in? Can the chat see him or hear me? Or let me know if it's me. It might be me. Unruly says it's always Justin's the girls.
Still there.
I hear you. Oh, all right. We'll give him a second, have him jump back in here. Yeah, Unruly. It's always the girls. I hear you, man. Yeah, everybody has their breaks in this hobby to pursue other things. Let's see. Nauman says, we'll catch the rest of the rewind. Appreciate you, man. Going to lunch. Enjoy the food, my friend. Let's see. We got Marco Cruz in the house. What's going on, Marco? He says it's him. Okay, yeah. Hopefully he'll jump back in here in just a second. Let's see. Here he is. Let's bring him back in here. Yo. Testing 1, 2.
I feel like I was rambling.
We got you. No, you were good. We heard you the whole time. Okay. I could hear you even when you were asking if when you were there, if I was still there, I heard you. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what happened, but long story short, stopped reading comics up until about 6 years ago. And
you were mentioning indies. Indie
comics existed. Read all of Saga in like 2 days. Well, I caught up on Saga in like 2 days. Nice. I got into Descender by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. And
dude, it's literally one of my favorites. Oh, it's so great.
That was the first indie run I was picking up bi-weekly, I guess.
Oh, that's cool.
I would I went into the comic book store, and actually the one of the workers at the comic book store, I play D&D with him to this day. We just finished up a 2-year campaign of Dungeons and Dragons. He's an amazing dungeon master, but he introduced me to all these books, and that's kind of how I got back into it.
Sweet.
And realized that I love indie comics.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's so cool. I have to say, very similar to you, Saga was one of my first, and then followed by Descender, which I just fell in love. Lemire and Nguyen are my literal favorite current team when it comes to comic books right now. So and I know they've been doing projects more recently, which is awesome. And that Descender, I have the hardcovers, like literally obsessed with Descender. So I'm glad to hear. It's cool that you were doing it as it was coming out, which is even cooler. I was able to catch a little bit of the Ascender stuff as it was finishing up, which was like last year or whatever. But so a little late to the game for myself on reading some of it. But the indie stuff definitely woke me up to a lot of like, whoa, didn't know this style of writing was out, or that these types of stories were out, or that these types of characters. It was just a refreshing, and I do think to some degree, sometimes, or at least from what I've experienced, is that I can get a little bit of like hero fatigue once in a while, getting a little tired of the capes and heroes once in a while, where I need to kind of like shift gears a little bit and read some other things. Yeah. So I totally get that. So that's cool, man. Indy's really diving into it. And, and it was your friend that got you in, which is cool. Okay.
Yeah. With my podcast, we did a booth at C2E2 and did a bunch of interviews and stuff.
Oh, nice.
And I shot a message to Dustin Nguyen, and this was like this was actually the last con before COVID hit. Like it was like end of February. So that March, I don't know. I'm sure you can remember.
I remember the C2E2. That was the last one I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was there and we did this booth, and
Mhm.
I reached out to Dustin Nguyen because I used to buy a lot of his like art back in the day.
Nice.
And now he's doing very well on his store from what I see. But
Oh yeah.
I reached out and I was like, hey man, do you mind coming by the booth, and if you have some time, doing this interview with me? And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll try to make time. And after hearing that, I'm just like, okay, it's probably not going to work out when they tell you that. But lo and behold, he just was standing right outside the booth, and he's like, hey
That's
Mark,
cool.
and I'm like, are you ready to do this? And he's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
let's do it. So I got to
Oh
interview
man.
him. It was awesome.
Oh, that's so cool. Is that
Very
live?
cool guy.
Is that on YouTube somewhere, or?
It is. It's on
Yeah.
the Chumpcast, is the podcast that I do weekly every
Okay.
Monday usually.
Nice.
It's on our YouTube channel.
Nice, and I linked that down below.
There's a whole C2E2 playlist or something on there.
Nice. Oh yeah. Man, I just want to meet the guy, man. That's really cool. You're able to have a sit down with him. One day. I'm hoping he's going to be back this year for C2E2. I didn't see him on the list yet, but I know it's not too late. People still being added, so we'll see. Mm-hmm. I wanted to highlight here, Marco said, my first comic was in the 90s, Wildcats and Wizard magazines. Man, I have a couple Wizard magazines laying around here somewhere that I came across not too long ago. And I do have the Wildcats. I do remember that first issue. I got it much later. I wasn't reading comics in the 90s, but I definitely I have a batch of 90s stuff that I came across recently. So I have I've seen all those, those well-known 90s books.
When I used to pull comics, being that young from that toy store, I pulled a lot of those 90s image comics, like Brigade. I remember I have some of those. I don't recall reading them, but just because of the art, they're all just massive jack dudes, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
I'm getting these for sure.
Love it. So yeah, it's cool to hear, you were kind of like I mentioned this, we've had a lot of guests where you kind of fall into it when you're younger, you fall out of it with school and college and other things, family, and then you jump in and out, back and forth. And for you, like you mentioned, 6-7 years ago, kind of getting back into things, which is really cool. I know, like between New 52 and Rebirth and other big events, I feel like that's pulled people in from time to time. And then of course, like just over the past couple of years, the pandemic, I feel like I've seen a ton more people diving into this hobby, just exploring, whether it be for the first time or, again, someone that collected when they were younger and they're like, oh, I have nothing to do. Let me get back into this hobby because I'm stuck in my house all day. So in a way that worked out, because it's cool to see so many people in this hobby. And I feel like, obviously the community continuing to grow more and more as we move along. So yeah, it's nice.
It's an intimidating hobby too. Not just with the size of the community, but jumping into a comic book, it's so hard because there's so many spin-offs now. Like I wouldn't know where to tell someone to jump into Marvel. Yeah. Like, do I recommend X-Men Red or whatever just came out? Or
any of the mutant books.
Any of the mutant books. But at the same time, if you have like Hickman writing it, you have all those maps and crazy like visuals that you have to understand. It's like, all right, it's kind of hard recommending things like that to people. But.
It's true. Which again, going back to your point of indies, that's why I like indies so much. You don't need to know any prior knowledge before that. You just start a fresh book and dive right into it. So, some things certainly to consider. But you're right. It is intimidating. And actually, you mentioned this. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, and I'll bring this up now as we mentioned this here. On the show, I like to have a segment where we talk a little bit or talk to and offer advice to new comic book fans, new hobbyists that are just joining in. If you had a piece of advice that you would give to somebody who was just, looking into comics for the first time or visiting an LCS or a Comic Con for the first time, what type of advice comes to your mind if you were to give like one piece of advice?
One piece of advice. I feel like this is just going to keep branching out.
It totally,
pick up what looks interesting to you if we're talking comics, and don't be scared to actually just jump into the middle of a run. Growing up, when you were a kid, you weren't like looking for that first issue. Usually you just see a book on the shelf, had a cool Spider-Man cover, you'd grab it, and then you would just jump right in. So don't be afraid to do that. It might get a little confusing, but you'll catch on. And reach out to people, ask people what they're reading. Don't be afraid to ask stupid questions within this community, even though you have a lot of gatekeeping type of people that are know-it-alls and kind of want to keep this community tight. So sometimes it can be a little stressful and intimidating when you're reaching out to people and asking, what should I read? What do you like? But I do recommend doing that. You'll find a lot of awesome people like you, Justin,
Yep. Right back
through
at you,
social
Mark.
media. And
Yeah.
just jump right in.
I love it, man. No, you make a great point too with, kind of figuring it out as you go along. One thing I tell people to keep in mind as they are exploring certain books or series is that these writers, they're aware that there are new, readers all the time, and they want to make it somewhat friendly where they can jump in. Sometimes at the beginning of the books, they have that whole description of what happened last issue. You can kind of get an idea that way. So yeah, between that and, as you said, just start, asking around, whether it be in the Instagram community or the YouTube community or just watching people's content. There's a ton of people like you and me who are talking about the books that we're reading and why we're enjoying them, kind of giving our opinions on them, and, find the people that kind of fit, what you want to hear and what you think you'd like. And I think that's great advice. I saw Marco here too. He said, I understand that completely best advice I ever got was pick a character that you enjoy, but you won't be able to read it all the time, but the journey will be great. Yeah. I mean, totally, trying to find that one character that you might really vibe with, and, trying to pick a couple different things, or even just kind of Googling it and saying, hey, what are the top 10 best Superman, reads ever, and of course it's all based opinion, but at least you get a little guidance of, what directions you want to go. So, I love this. I always like to kind of talk a little bit about this because, yeah, as you mentioned, people are, I know I was, and maybe still am to some degree, afraid to like ask certain questions, feeling silly, or like, oh, maybe I should know this, but there's a lot of people that, might laugh at me for not knowing this or whatever. But I would say just find the good people that are out there and don't hesitate to just talk with them and, kind of go about it that way. It's a good community overall.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Unruly says, that's how I buy trades. If enough people are saying a series is good, I check it out. Yeah, I like that. It's a good idea. And plus trades are a bit cheaper as well compared to buying each individual issue. So it's a good thing there. So mentioned 90s image numbers ones, equal investment starting kit. Eventually you're going to be a gazillionaire. Yeah. All those 90s image books. Yeah. I'm rolling on them.
Just don't tell me the print run.
Yeah, exactly. So Mark, tell me a little bit about like what made you want to bring your platform to social media like Instagram. And I know you mentioned the podcast, you guys kind of kicked it off that way. I feel like you do a lot of content over on Instagram too now, though. What was the effort behind that? And did you know that there was this community of people as you joined on?
Yeah. It did start with the podcast. I would do a lot of like, when I was going back to the comic book shop 6 years ago or whatever, I would do a lot of like, hey, here's the comic I picked up. Here's why I liked it. And those posts would do well on our page, but also it started becoming like, I guess I was posting it a lot to where it was kind of taking away from the podcast. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start at this new page and see how it does. And that way I can focus on primarily just meeting new people within this comic book community and getting to know them. Setting aside this platform and thus making more time to focus on, reading, learning more about all the comic book characters that I never really got to get into growing up. But yeah, especially just wanted to get into the community to where I could separate myself as an individual rather than just being, one of the members on the podcast, which I love being on and talking about comics, but that's not our main focus. It's usually about movie reviews and just, to be honest, just bullshitting and
yeah. You guys cover a lot, which is cool.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have that individual, especially if someone wants to reach out to you guys. It is nice to be able to say, oh, I can go right to Mark's page and talk to Mark if I want, or so on and so forth.
And I pulled a lot of different techniques, I'll call them, from many different people on Instagram, without trying to like make it look like I'm just plagiarizing off of people's posts. But I will tell you, like, my cameras that I use, how I shoot things, how I just lay out if I'm speaking over a video, and the information I give. I see what works with other people's pages. And yet I try to do things, as I try to do things that aren't really seen, or people aren't really doing them yet, or just, try to be different with my posts too. But a lot of the times it's looking at your guys' posts and seeing what works and asking myself, hey, how can I do something different, but also, use that algorithm and what's been working with people to, get my page across and get people to follow and appreciate what I'm posting.
Totally. And well said. And I think you do that very well. I think that you're doing it in a way that stands out. And at the same time, it's content we want to see. Is again, you're showing off a lot of the different books that a lot of us are reading, and you're doing it in a different way and showing what your pickups are and making it fun all at the same time. So I think you definitely are doing a good job on that front as well.
And I will also, one last thing I'll say is like, if for content creators on Instagram or YouTube, by no means feel like you shouldn't. If somebody has a great idea, like there was, who was it? I believe it's AR Comics on TikTok. I'm on TikTok now, and he did his top 5 picks for the week. It's a pretty broad topic, but he, from what I saw, was like the first one to start doing it. And I'm like, that is a great idea. I'm not really going to change it up too much, but I'm going to shout this guy out and be like, hey, AR Comics, great idea. Here are my top 5. Don't be afraid to do something like that. It's an honor as a content creator to influence people within this community and get them thinking and get them creating. And when you get shouted out, you're not thinking like, oh, he's taking my idea. If you get shouted out, you're usually thinking like, wow, people are watching this and it's encouraging others to create content of their own.
Totally. What they say, it's a form of flattery, right? When impersonation. Exactly. So yeah, for sure, man. And it's just there's so much out there, and I guarantee anyone that tries to do anything unique, I promise it has probably somewhat been done, maybe in some other industry or some other area of the internet. So it is definitely challenging to try to be the legit, the simplest way to say it is you just be you, and no one can be that. So, everyone can talk about their top 5s. I talk top 5s too. But as long as you're bringing your own personality, your own, you're not trying to sound and act like someone else, then I think, you're definitely going to shine and stand out different from everybody else regardless. So, but it's great points that you're making for sure. Marco says, YouTubers like Justin do the industry a great service. I appreciate that, man. He says, I can never get enough content, and this gives us more. It's definitely a community and family. I agree with that, and I appreciate the kind words, Marco. And Steve, he agrees with you. He says, most definitely, totally agree, Mark. It's cool. Like you're saying, don't even be afraid to say, hey, big shout out, got this idea from so-and-so. And I've seen AR around, seems like a good dude. I know he's putting out a lot of content as well. So yeah, much respect to him. Hey, we got Raging Cajun Comics in the house. What is up, JD? This is Justin, Lego Builder, and Mark. Good to see you, man. So I wanted to ask you about your collection. So you have obviously you've been buying a lot of comics, and at the same rate, you also have a nice set of statues, as I mentioned earlier in the stream. What came first, the statues or the comics? And are there other things that you're collecting right now, currently, other than just comics?
Yeah, the comics came first. Okay. I have this obsessive collecting personality, I'll call it, where it was Funko Pops for a while. I thankfully I was up to like hundreds, I was probably over 100, which is a lot for me. And we were in an apartment at the time, my wife and I, and she's like, where do I put all this stuff? And we had this small storage unit. But now with the house, have a little bit more room to put all the boxes for the statues. But I was into Funkos, still have some, like I have Cowboy Bebop Funkos up here.
Nice.
The statues, actually, I got into, he calls himself the Batman statue collector. He's on YouTube. And I had no idea these things existed. And this was maybe 5 years ago. I started watching his channel, and I am obsessed with Batman. That was my character growing up, my superhero. So
love it.
I saw these statues that were getting produced by all these companies, and now I am fully in on it. My wife's not too happy about it, but from there it branched off into CGC Comics. I've been submitting, which is really fun. I like the fact that I can submit these books. I take a lot of time to check them out, probably waste too much time before submitting them. But it also allows me to preserve the books that I've read already, or, have these exclusive comics that I just want to encapsulate. And if anything ever happens to me, if anything ever happened to me, having this book's not worth anything, but my wife took my comics, she would throw this one in a bin, and at a garage sale, it would get picking up. And yeah, it's not worth anything, but if there was a raw comic book that was worth something, it'd be gone for 50 cents probably. Right. Now she would have something like this and be like, all right, I should.
Yeah. Go ahead.
She would be like, oh, this is probably worth something. So having it graded, I just think they look nice, but you're also preserving the book, and yeah, you can always sell it down the road if you need to. But that's kind of what I'm into now, is a lot of graded comics and things like that. But the statues, I don't know how much more room I have. I have a Spider-Man one right here. There's a Batman Beyond. So I have 6 statues right now. I don't know how many more I can get, but I think I'm going to slowly change things up and swap out some of them.
Very cool. I am going through my own transition of being randomly obsessed with Lego, and so I totally get it. Totally starting to build all these, these towers and stuff. I want to have a Lego city. It's not good. And my girlfriend's like, "Yeah, same question. Where are you going to put all this stuff?" And I'm like, "I'm figuring it out. I'm figuring it out." Meanwhile, I got comic book stacks and still trying to find a home for them. And so, yeah, I feel the struggle, man. It's not easy being a hobbyist, a comic book and statue lover here. So I get it. Steve asks, what is your grail in terms of your Funko Pops? Was there anything big or anything special that you owned or have now?
So yeah, I sold my grail. I'm big into Cowboy Bebop. I unboxed this guy because I'm like, with Funkos, this is probably $100 pop, I think, last time I checked. But I was like, you know what? I don't like displaying them with the box, and I'm not going to sell it. So I have all the Cowboy Bebops out of the box right now on display. But my grail, I guess, was the bank robber Joker from Batman. He had like the beginning of the Dark Knight, that mask on. Yeah. And that one I sold for that was a vaulted Funko, which means they weren't making them anymore. So I was able to sell that one. I sold that one because it was just skyrocketing in price. And I'm like, you know what? Sitting in the box, because I wasn't stupid enough to take that one out of the box, and I just ended up selling it. But that was my grail at the time.
Nice. I mean, I think that as you mentioned with the one you showed, like if it's something that you don't plan on selling, it's yours. It's something you want to keep in the PC, the personal collection. I think it's good. I think it's good to take them out. I do have a couple pops. I don't think they're worth anything, but I like to take them out anyways. Take a picture of them or something, or have them out on my shelves and stuff from time to time. So totally get that. I agree with Mercy. The statue rabbit hole is deep. Love it though. Mercy has definitely had a good amount of statues I've seen. He actually sculptures some of it. He makes them his own. I've seen recently, or over the past year or so. And Unruly, he says grading definitely helps your family, who usually know diddly about comics, get you more money if something ever happens to you. Which, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've told my girlfriend too, like, if you ever are in a situation where you're selling my comics or whatever, don't do it. That, or at least talk to some of my friends from the community that I know she knows, and just like, they'll at least guide a little bit. None of this is worth 50 cents. I promise you. A lot of them are worth a lot more than that. So, I think she'll be careful with that. But you make great points there. And I love the statues. Definitely something that I will, as I figure out room, would probably, dabble in more as well. I do have a couple small ones, but it is tempting when I go into some of these bigger shops that I see that have a bunch. Definitely tempting. So do you have, I wanted to ask about, and I mentioned before the show, if you had a book that you wanted to show, something that meant something special to you, is there something that you have with you here that you want to talk about a little bit and show off?
Yeah. So, as mentioned, this was actually the first comic I ever picked up. So it has that nostalgic and really personal meaningful factor to it. Peter Parker's Spider-Man 44. This is by Humberto Ramos, the cover.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I think did I drop again?
No, you're good. I just blew you up, man.
Oh, you did? I was like,
I'm here. I'm here
out of the chat. This was the first comic I actually went into a comic book shop to buy. I want to say like 10 years old, and this was a new issue. I remember at the time I walked over to where all the new releases for comics were, and I saw this comic. And speaking of, like, as when you're a kid just jumping right in, I wasn't starting to read like a new run of Spider-Man. I just saw this cover and was like, you know what, I'm picking that up and I'm going to get into Spider-Man now.
Nice.
So this really got me not just into Spider-Man, but into, you know, wanting to read and learn more about characters growing up within comics.
Cool. Yeah.
Last one is a graded comic that I recently got back from. I bought it on the Shortboxed app, which is essentially it's a marketplace. It's like eBay for buying and selling graded comics only.
Yeah.
There's no selling of raw comics. It's just graded. So if you're looking for slabs, it's a great place to go.
Absolutely.
But this is the first full appearance of Killer Croc. It's Batman 357. I made a post today about this on IG. It just gives.
I saw your story. You're doing some editing, some video editing. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Man, a lot goes into those that people don't know. I'm just like the voiceover and the cutting,
especially on Adobe. It's good that you're using Premiere. It's a good program.
Yeah. But yeah, this is one of my grails, I guess. I've decided over the last few years to start collecting graded comics related to first appearances, primarily of Batman villains. Sure. So you actually have a first appearance of Jason Todd, and in the video I mentioned cameo appearance because I went on a site and it said cameo, but I guess especially from people commenting in the community, they said there's a first appearance of Jason Todd in this. So I just love this book. Killer Croc is a classic Batman villain. So I'm going to continue collecting all of those first appearances of villains as I can afford them, because a lot of them are extremely pricey, like Poison Ivy or the Riddler. But that was a big pickup for me. Nice.
Very nice. Yeah, those are great. I feel like very underrated still, the DC first appearances and key issues and things like that. A lot of people not. I mean, obviously, you know, I know a lot of the hypes with Marvel with what they're doing in the MCU and on the big screen, and I get that, and I'm enjoying that as well. But I've been eyeing some DC keys because I'm like, man, they're nicely priced compared to some of the Marvel stuff that's going on right now. So,
I will tell people in the community they're not worth it. Do not try. Don't collect DC. Just leave it for me. I'll worry about it. Focus on your Ultimate Fallouts and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, good call.
Enjoy those. And
you don't want these Batman keys.
Don't buy Batman keys. It's stupid. That character is not going to stick around long.
I'm with you, Mark. I'm going to start pushing that more. I like that. Hey, we got Circumstances in the house. What's going on, homie? Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Michael says, shoot me a message, Miss No Good. I'll help you out, toss the Legos, and sell the comics. Yeah, Michael, appreciate you, brother. I know you got our back here. So very cool. Nice set of books that you just showed there, Mark, and I appreciate you sharing. It is cool to hear, you know, again, some of the books that get people started, and a lot of it had to do with artwork, right? It's cool that you were pulled in just from simply seeing it on the shelf and, getting pulled in that way. So I know that's how I get attracted to a lot of different books, even now, you know, new stuff coming out. So those covers are important for those reasons as well.
Those damn 1 in 25s, man.
Dude, they get me every time, man. the damn cover buys, man. They're brutal. Yeah. So those are the kind of the questions that I had in terms of, like, you know, the origin discussion, but I do have a bunch of rapid fire questions that I want to do with you as part of this rapid fire segment. And then I have some non-comic book related questions for you as well, just to get to know a little bit more in depth of who Mark is and some of the background that you bring, as you're part of this community. So, and again, for the people watching right now, appreciate it. We got 8 people hanging. Anybody watching the replay, thanks for taking the time to do so. Make sure that you are subbed up to Mark and follow him over on Instagram as well. Put his information in the description, and TikTok. I put his links down there too for that. So you can find the guy over on TikTok as well. So he's putting more videos out every day. Quick hello to Sheena, my girl Sheena in the house. What is up? HK Wifey. Thanks for hanging out. She said, just in time for the rapid fire questions. Yep. The rapid fire questions. So I always say rapid because they're not always that rapid. My girlfriend calls me out all the time. So I like to hear my guests elaborate sometimes on some of these, some of the answers anyways, but we'll try to keep this, going here. All right. So first one up, and some of these are comic book related. Some of these have nothing to do with comics, but no wrong answers here, Marcus, whatever you feel and where you stand. So I think we know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. First off, what is your favorite comic book character of all time?
Batman.
All right. Yep, pretty straightforward.
Batman,
pretty straightforward. What about your favorite villain of all time?
Mr. Freeze, and that's from watching the animated series growing up, Heart of Ice
nice.
episode.
Yeah.
I just think his backstory is it's a depressing backstory, but it makes for, you know, a good villain where you can also sympathize for him as well.
Sure, you care about him. Yeah, absolutely. Very nice, very nice. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Very cliche, flying probably.
All right.
That'd be awesome, especially now with gas prices. Yeah, I'll just fly there.
Save a lot of money. I laugh extra because, yes, flight is a very popular answer on the show here. I'd say we're getting at closer to 50, maybe 40% of my guests answer flight. But as you mentioned, for so many great reasons, you know, you're thinking in terms of convenience for life. Heck yeah, man. So I'm with you there. No doubt about it. Let's see. Who is your favorite comic book artist? And we'll say currently. Who is your current favorite comic book artist? Who comes to mind, at least right off the bat? I know there's a lot of them.
I'm going to go Dustin Nguyen, and we've talked about this already. The way, like, I've seen him live, how he watercolors and things like that, and it's mind blowing. I also am a huge sucker just for like really fine lined, comic-y, like in your face characters, and I think J. Scott Campbell captures whatever character he does extremely well from a comic book, like making it look like comic book art. This is my one artist I've never been that big of a fan of that everyone loves, and that's just because growing up, like, I wanted the cartoony comic book characters, and I understand how, like, what Alex Ross does, but at the same time, like, his art never really connected with me too much. So that's another great thing about being in this hobby. You can like what you like, and yes, there is going to be there's always going to be the majority of people that are in love with certain, you know, writers or whatever it may be, but be your own person. I respect Alex Ross's art, and I don't know why I'm talking about, you know, an artist that I'm not too fond of, but yeah, it's just when it comes to artists, I would never, it's very subjective. And I would never tell somebody, you know, it's like, if you like Rob Liefeld, awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Rage says Bruce Timm, ? Bruce Timm, solid for the 90s stuff.
Yeah. And I should count that because he still does a lot of comic book stuff, but I count him as just, you know, the Batman, the animated series. And of course I love that art style.
Absolutely. Well, I'm definitely with you there with Dustin Nguyen. I mean, he's definitely up there for me as a current. And I just love the watercolors, all that stuff, and the consistency of his work, where anytime you see his art, you know it's him. Like, he is very different than everybody else in that sense. And so that's what I look for in any artist. I like when an artist can stand out and you just recognize their artwork automatically. So anytime I see him draw like a little kid in any context of any comic book, I just think of Tim 21, no matter what. It's Tim 21.
Yeah.
I know he's done a lot with, I see Little Monsters. I'm like, look at all these Tim 21s. This is great.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm all for it. Michael says he agrees. Agree with the sentiment. I feel the same about Clayton Crane. Oh, he's a Clayton Crane fan. Let's see. Going into the next one. What was the last comic book that you read?
It would have been Twig #2.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
Book I read.
Scotty Young.
I'm loving that series.
Sweet. I have not read the second issue yet, but I did enjoy the first one, and that's on my list for my second one. So very cool. Yeah. I'm never sleeping on Scotty Young ever again. He's always putting out home runs every time.
Yeah.
So
whenever he's always at C2E2, like in the cafeteria, like eating area. And I've always, like, he's always by himself drawing. And there's so many times where I like walk behind him to see like the little characters he's drawing. And I've never gotten the courage because he always has like his AirPods in.
He's in the zone.
The courage to be like, hey, and I probably that's okay. I don't want to bother.
Yeah. Totally. Awesome. Let's see. Marco says, I do enjoy Alex Ross art, but I do appreciate the cartoony comic book artwork like Scotty Young also. Yeah, I think that there's room for all of it, and obviously it can depend on the stories that these artists are creating and the mood, maybe the mood that you're in. You know, sometimes you might want a more realistic view versus cartoony, or vice versa. So I'm with you on all that. let's see. Next up here, if you could, I love this question. If you could go back in time, like literal time travel, and buy any one book off the shelf at cover price or off the rack at cover price, what comic book would you travel back to buy and bring back with you? One thing though. One thing you cannot sell it. You cannot sell it. It has to be a book that you literally have to take it to the grave with you. So if in that circumstance, what is the one book you travel to go get?
I think just Saga #1. I have Saga #1, but picking that off the shelf or Walking Dead #1, because I've heard some
right there. Yeah. Got my 9/8.
Saga or Walking Dead, and I mentioned Walking Dead because I remember when I started going into the comic book store. Of course, Walking Dead was on the shelf and all the compendiums and all that kind of stuff. And I was watching, or I just finished. Well, didn't finish. I stopped watching the show because it wasn't going where I wanted it to. But everyone knew about Walking Dead, and I asked the owner. I was like, "How did Walking Dead do the first week that issue #1 came out?" He's like, "Well, first of all, I only bought 3 issues for the shop because I had no idea what the hell this book was. Second off, I had a guy buy it and come back, and I never do this, but since I had 3 books, I was like, whatever." He returned the book for something else, like a day later. So he brought back Walking Dead #1 and then swapped it out, which I think is just that sucks. But
that's a first. I've never heard of that. Yeah.
So I think Walking Dead would have been really cool to go back to that time and pick that book up and get into it, or Saga.
Nice. Good choices. Rajan says Detective Comics 38, which I assume that's Batman, or close to. Spawn 1, Michael says, which there's a good amount out there. All right, let's see. Next question here. Let me scroll through. I'm going to do a couple of this or that, and then we're going to switch gears here to some non-comic book related stuff, although some of the stuff's not comic book related. And I will start out with, let's see, you're a Batman fan. So what about if you had to choose between Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy? Who would you go with?
Harley Quinn.
Harley, nice. Same. I'm with you. Oh, sorry. That's the first appearance of Dick Grayson. Okay, there you go. Detective Comics 38. Good call. Let's see. Jenny Frison or Jen Bartel?
Jenny Frison, also because I met her a few times in person, and she's
nice.
She's really, really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a tough one though. I love Bartel.
Yeah, totally. Likewise. The battle of the gens, I say. Let's see. Going into, I always put this out there. I don't know if you're a soda lover or not, but Pepsi or Coke?
Oh man, I might get trash for this one. I used to only drink Coke products growing up because my mom loved just like a regular Coke with, if we went to like McDonald's or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I was working before COVID, my company had a vending machine. It was all Pepsi products. And honestly, I drink a lot of diet drinks, which is, I mean, it's kind of disgusting, but I drink a lot. And I think Diet Pepsi is better than Diet Coke. When it comes down to the Coke Zero is okay, but Diet Pepsi drinks, I think, are better.
Wow. Okay. Well, I can't say I know that since I don't drink diet, but I am definitely a Coca-Cola guy and a Coca-Cola products guy overall. But totally get it. I'm glad to hear that at least you were born and raised on Coca-Cola.
It's funny that was the question I went long-winded into.
Hey, you never know.
Related, I'm like, ooh, Pepsi, Coke. Oh,
yeah, man. The real brain teasers. Michael says correct. He's referring to the Frison answer that you gave before. He is also a big Frison fan, and he also says incorrect to anybody who picks Bartel, even though I think he has respect for Bartel. Sheena says this is why she asked with you, Mark, from one of your answers there prior as well. Rajan is with the Wild Cherry Pepsi. Okay, all right. Unique. It's unique. Let's see. We get yeah, exactly, Steve. He knows. We get it, Justin. Coke for the win. I'll get off my I'll get off my horse here. Okay, next one up. James Tynion or Ram V?
James Tynion. Yeah. I haven't read enough Ram V stuff.
Okay,
and I know Ram V actually.
He just did that new Aquaman, right?
This looks so good. I haven't read it yet. This looks amazing.
Looks great.
I'm pumped to read this.
Likewise.
Tynion. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm with you overall. Both great writers. It's tough to choose between the two, but yeah. Do you prefer a day at the beach or a day at a Comic-Con?
It kind of depends on how my day's going.
All right.
That's tough because like Comic Cons, well, now they're not really like a one-time thing per year for me because I'm going to be going to a few this year. But with Comic Cons, I feel like they're such a big event and you look forward to them for so long where I'll probably say Comic Con, but at the same time, if there's a day where I'm just like trying to be by myself, clear my head, zone out a little bit, it's the beach. It just kind of depends on how I'm feeling that day.
That's fair. I totally get that, man, because I'm down with both for sure.
I'm very introverted, which some people don't. You might be able to tell, talking to me one-on-one, but like when you have this social media personality, people can't always like tell how you are and
totally
one-on-one talk. But I just like being by myself. I go to the movies by myself all the time.
Yeah.
I just really appreciate that time alone because I have 2 kids now, which is amazing being a dad, and my wife's amazing. But at the same time, sometimes you just want to be like, all right, here are my thoughts. Here are my thoughts.
I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. What do they call that? Like an outroverted introvert. I feel like can be mixed in that time, and I feel like I'm very similar in that regard. I'm very feel very comfortable in front of a camera, but I don't know if I'm at like a doctor's office, I'm like very quiet.
Shaking your leg, just like
I'm not gonna be just nervous. I'm not gonna be chatting it up with everybody while I'm there or anything like that. Sure. Let's see. Yeah, Marco's talking about the Ram V is the Hitchcock of comics. Andromeda is fire. Recommend. Nice. I'm excited to dive into that as well. All the DC Black Label stuff. I mean, I've talked about it on my channel before. I'm just a huge fan of anything that comes out as a DC Black Label. Nothing has let me down yet. Over the past 2 years that I've been, dabbling in the DC Black Label stuff, it's all been fantastic. And that goes back to Harleen, which is one of the first DC Black Label stuff that really got me into it. So really good stuff.
It blows my mind that Stefan Sajic, I think that's how you say his name. He wrote and drew that book.
He's all over it.
God. And it's one of my favorite Harley Quinn stories of all time. Like,
same. So unique, so beautiful. Yeah. The covers, everything. I bought the hardcover edition. It's such a nice book, even to just flip through. Hey, we got my man Rudy in the house. What is up, Rudy? Good to see you, man. Thanks for hanging out. All right, couple other questions here, then we'll shift gears as we're coming up on the hour. I have to ask, I mean, I always throw this in here, but pizza or cake?
Pizza.
Yes.
I'm also 3 blocks away from 2 of the most well-known Chicago deep dish pizza places. One is called Pequot, which you may have heard of. That's more known, I would say, than the other one is Burt's. And I just made a post on Instagram about Burt's. Burt's sponsors our softball team, but Burt's was actually the only deep dish pizza place that Anthony Bourdain featured on No Reservations.
Oh, okay.
So, and he calls that the only deep dish he's ever loved. It's amazing. It's I made a TikTok of eating it, and people are like, dude, you burnt that pizza real bad. You're going to get cancer. Like, well, first off, it's caramelized crust, but yes, it does look burnt. I appreciate you worrying for me.
Right.
But that's how it looks. It does look like when you see it, you're like, oh my God, that's kind of gross because it just looks completely charred on the crust. But Burt's Pizza in my suburb of Morton Grove is the best pizza in Chicago, and in my opinion, some of the best pizza in the world.
Wow. All right. I will. No, I love it. I will have to put you to the test on that when I'm out there in Chicago, because I've talked to friends before, some that live out in Chicago as well. And I've had a ton of recommendations. So I might have to pick your brain as well later on. I did have a deep dish recently. It was delivered to me here in Jersey from Chicago. It was
or Giordano's.
Oh man! Now I forget. It's one of those.
Gino's East.
No, it was one of the. It was what was the first one you said? The Pequot or
Pequots?
Yeah, was that it? No.
Well, Lou Malnati's does like the to go. Like you could send it anywhere in.
Okay. This was like frozen. They send it like a frozen thing. Okay. Yeah.
It might have been Lou Malnati's. They do that a lot. That's good pizza. Yeah. This Burt's place though that I'm talking about, they do half. It's called half crust. So imagine a deep dish pizza with, a little bit less dough, which I think is kind of what that pushes people away from that type of pizza a lot, is people that really appreciate like tavern style New York pizza.
Yeah.
If you get half dough, deep dish pizza from Chicago, it might change your mind. I get that people don't really like the whole casserole, a lot of, how much dough is in deep dish pizza, but yeah, there's different options to get.
Michael here says, I'm sorry you've been lied to. I welcome you to real pizza here in the Northeast. I mean, I have to agree with you, Michael. I am very much in love with my pizza here in Jersey and New York. But I did like it, though, as a first time trying it out, shipped to me from Chicago. That was a cool experience. But I do want to experience it, going out there. And I mean, I'm a lover of all pizza, so there's no bad pizza to me. So I'm definitely down to, explore some of that as well. Yeah, definitely a debate. Marco, people say Chicago pizza is the best, New York pizza is the best, but the cartoons by eating looks the best. Yeah, right. Any of these cartoons with the pizza. Yeah, I agree.
That's more reminiscent of New York style. I think the cartoons with the cheese. Like I've been to Bleecker Street Pizza. I've had a lot of good New York pizza, and I appreciate it a lot. But being from Chicago, I have to give it to deep dish.
Understandable. One last question here before we get into some of the non-comic book related stuff. Who is your favorite Robin, if you had to pick one?
I thought I would never say this. It's Damian Wayne, though.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome, man. Nice choice.
When talking about Robin, not an alter ego, or a Robin that moved on to be a different character, like Nightwing. I like this Dick Grayson, Jason Todd. As Red Hood, but when you're talking about a Robin, man, Damian Wayne, I don't know what it is, but I appreciate Damian Wayne a lot more, and I think there's a lot more well-written comics that are coming out featuring Damian Wayne.
I was going to ask, I'm assuming you've been following along the Robin series, and with this whole Deathstroke story and everything else. Yeah, he has quickly become one of my favorites. That's for sure. I like Damian a lot. Dick Grayson, Nightwing, he's probably, if I had to pick one, he would be my number one. But again, I'm newer to a lot of the Batman family and stuff, so I'm still exploring. I still have a lot to learn, even with like Jason Todd and some of the others. So, but he's great, man. He's a great character.
Yeah, he's a little shit. He's very testy. Like,
totally. He's got ego. He's got a little ego in him, and but he puts his money where his mouth is, and and he stands his ground for the most part. So I dig it. Let's see. Kevin, what is up, Kevin? Let's see. Ragin said unfollowed both of you. Come on, Rage. He's talking about, because he's a Dick Grayson guy, which I totally I am with you there, man. I mean, Nightwing's what got me back in the DC overall, thanks to Tom Taylor.
Dick Grayson, right?
So, see, there you go. He's got some love. See, there you go. So I get it, man. It's all love here, Rage. Come on now. Let's see. Yes. So thank you, Justin. You got to let Mark know. There you go. Standing his ground on the pizza. Let's see. All right, let's change it up here as we wrap up here this last 15 minutes or so. And again, appreciate everybody in the chat hanging with us right now. Or if you're watching the replay, make sure you are following Mark. His information is in the description below. He says, Rages says, okay, Mark, you're back. Justin is out.
He's out.
Brutal, bro. Until I'll get a Nightwing Lego, then I'll be back on your good side. So let's see. Let's talk. I mean, this is what I want to talk first and foremost, or as we started talking. Let's bring it into some sports talk here for a little bit. So, my general question to you is, what are your favorite sports, and who are your favorite teams? And do you play sports yourself?
Okay. I don't know if I want to get into all this, but I guess I will as quickly as possible. So yeah, I played baseball growing up. Cool. I actually played almost every sport. I didn't play hockey. I played football, basketball, all that kind of stuff growing up. Yeah. I was big into baseball and actually potentially wanted to go to a D2 or D3 school till my senior year when I broke my leg. Literally, Harry Potter snapped my leg in half. The scene where his arm is just all right. But anyways, in a weightlifting class, there was a freak accident, and that got me to really focus on fitness, and I started bodybuilding, and that was a big part of my life for years. So things happen for a reason is what I'm getting at. Sure. But I loved baseball growing up. And I ended up also getting into golf. And I know Justin, you play a lot of golf as well. And that was a little tough in high school because when I broke my leg, I was off the baseball team. I mean, it was to the point where the coach kind of had their mind up. I was on varsity at the time. And then after breaking my leg, I'm like, okay, this isn't really going to go anywhere. So I focused on golf. I didn't play football, and I fell in love with golf. But in high school, golf is not the cool sport. But now it's a very cool sport when your friends want to just go out and drink beers growing up, and you're killing it on the course, and they're trying to figure out how to hit a shot, and you're just laughing and they're getting all frustrated. So I like where, I appreciate where my life took me from a sports perspective when I was younger. So yeah, golf, baseball, although I play softball now, 16-inch, which is a Chicago thing. You don't use mitts. The ball is 16 inches, about this big. Broke this finger playing. It's don't ask me why.
Comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Brutal.
But we could talk about sports teams if you want.
Tell me about it, man. So you're obviously, I know we talked Cubs. You're a big Cubs fan, which I was also questioning because I know Chicago obviously having two teams. Wasn't sure where you stood with that, but Cubs being the team. But yeah, who are what other teams are you rooting for? What other sports do you pay close attention to for that?
So I have a love-hate relationship with the Cubs, but I am, I guess, a diehard Cubs fan. That's my team. When I was 9 years old, my dad had tickets and took me to the Steve Bartman game. And people in the chat might be like, I don't know what that game is, but you may recall when the Cubs were in the playoffs, there was a guy in the stands that reached out for a ball that was heading foul, and I guess I don't think he interfered looking at it. Well, he did interfere, but shit happens. Essentially, he was booed out of the stadium. And as a kid, as a 9-year-old, seeing tens of thousands of people in unison calling this guy an a-hole and just being like, oh my God, Cubs will never win the World Series. We had the whole GOAT thing. We were cursed. And I firmly believe that. But back in 2016, I was at Game 7 of the World Series in Cleveland.
Wow.
There's me.
Oh, nice. Oh, hold that up. There you go. Yeah, nice.
One of the happiest moments of my life, besides my children being born. But this is also pretty funny. I was featured in the 10th inning on TV.
Oh,
Game 7 of the Cubs World Series. Besides the Super Bowl, I think this game might have been one of the most watched in televised, games of all time. Like, even if you weren't a Cubs fan, you're like, are the Cubs going to do it? Do they have it in them? Are they finally going to beat the curse? I was somehow on TV. I had people that I haven't talked to in years from
they reach out to
texting me, dude, you're on TV. Everyone was watching at that moment. It was the 10th inning of Game 7 And it was just nuts. It was
you can see it on your face too. You're just like freaking out.
I was freaking the hell out. And awesome. Some friends were like, some of my close friends think of me as like kind of a lucky dude, and they're like, that would happen to you. Like their Cubs fans are like, you would be on TV like 10th inning and the Cubs would win it. Like so great. I'm a Cubs fan, but I've been with them for a while and have gone through the downs and have been there for the ups. So that is fair, and I respect that for anybody who stands by their team, obviously with the good and the bad. Always respect for stuff like that. So very cool that you have that clip, man. That's like so special. You have that forever. That's really cool. Hey, we got Comics for Cheap in the house. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. And Marco said, that's what's up, Mark. I was an athlete in school also, and now I do bodybuilding and training to beat Batman. There you go. Nice. To beat Batman or to be Batman? Ooh, I don't know. Good stuff though. So yeah, very cool. So what are any other teams? Are you a football guy? I assume, or do you do any?
Sorry, I froze again.
Oh yeah. Am I coming in? Can you hear me? Little mic check, 1 2. Oh no, we're losing Mark. James says he can't be Batman because I'm Batman. That's how I picture you saying it. Because I'm Batman. Let's see. Said hello to John. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for hanging out. There he is. Oh, Let me take. We got 2 marks here right now. 2 marks. This is wild. There you go. Boom.
Sorry, man. I assume
All
that's
good.
me. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's all good.
But that's awesome about the bodybuilding comment. I saw that.
Yeah, Marco. Yeah. Yeah. So, any other sports or teams, I should say, that you're a fan of for some of the other sports?
I kind of was like a bandwagon, I guess, a Blackhawks fan when they had a pretty good run a couple of years back and went to the Stanley Cup and things like that. Yeah. I am a Bears fan. I'm sorry to hear that's another team. It's quite depressing being a Bears fan. You're always hoping that you'll draft somebody, but yeah, it's very brutal at times.
You're just hoping that they don't hit the goalpost. That's
right.
Like I always think Bears. I think the goalpost. I think Cody Parkey.
The double doink.
Yeah, so brutal. But hey, like I said, I respect that you stand with your team through the good and bad.
Plenty bad.
Yeah, plenty bad. Raging's booing you there for the Blackhawks.
That's all right. I don't watch that much hockey anymore. I'll take that one.
Do you follow golf right now? The pros? Do you follow the PGA Tour at all?
Yeah, I haven't read. I know there's some controversy right now about Phil and some other players going to play like the Dubai or whatever. The
LIV Golf Tour. Yeah, it's really big right now.
That's going to be interesting to see how that pans out in the next year. But yeah, I do follow golf for the most part.
Nice. Do you have a favorite golfer?
Yeah, it's Tiger.
Tiger.
It has to be Tiger. I think there's always a TikTok going around. And it's like, can you tell me one thing that everyone agrees on? I think everyone can agree that Tiger's the greatest golfer of all time.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Well said.
You could try to say Nicholas, but it's Tiger.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I was.
Ray just said he unfollowed you again because of the Black Hawk comment.
Okay, that's fine. Not the Tiger comment. Hopefully,
no.
Yeah, him winning the Masters years back was insane.
Yeah,
That shouldn't have happened, but it did.
Well, even recently, him making his comeback and playing into, making the cut, the last 2 events that he has just done has been really impressive. Knowing, obviously the turnaround of him going through what he's been going through recently. So, I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, I know he has another one in him for sure when he gets back to 100%. So, it's not the last time we see Tiger, but that's awesome, man. I'm glad. It's cool that you're following along. We'll have to definitely touch base on some of that. I do a lot of fantasy football and fantasy golf recently, so I've been dabbling in some fantasy golf lately. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, some of your picks. I'm interested to see who you got.
No doubt, man. No doubt. All right, let's see. Let's shift gears here just a little bit, and we're just talking about sports. I want to talk to you about music. Where do you stand with music? Are you, do you have a favorite genre? And if so, do you have a favorite band or artist that's like the very top of your list?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm into everything.
Nice.
I grew up listening to a lot of New York rappers, like not Jay-Z actually. Like I was big into Biggie. I was big into Nas. And so heavy into hip hop. Heavy into punk rock as well. Like Blink-182 is one of my favorite bands.
Heck yeah.
I've seen them multiple times. Nice. All that kind of music. Growing up and playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater, just being in the basement. Your mom's calling you up to eat your pot pie, and you're like, "Shut up, mom! I'm trying to finish this level." Like, yeah, you're gonna love all those bands that were featured in all the Tony Hawk games.
Tony Hawk, man, you just brought it back right there, bro.
Yeah. My dad is one of the biggest Beatles fans I would say ever existed. Nice. So growing up, I didn't have that much appreciation for the Beatles, but now listening to them, growing up and just hearing how they, produce the records and the kind of music they put together it's pretty amazing. So I'm into all the classic rock stuff. Nice. Country. I go to country concerts every year.
Nice.
Pretty much everything. It's a boring answer, but yeah, I like it all.
Dude, no, not at all, man. It's very similar to comics, in which I feel like, and I say this every time that someone mentions, and when they say everything, because I'm the same way. I like all genres. I truly feel like there's good music in every genre. You just have to take the time to find it. And I feel that same way about comics. Like they're, all different publishers, all different genres of comics, or even just regular books, or even movies for that instance. I think a lot of it plays into your mood, what you're into that moment or at that time period, or what's trending, can obviously influence a lot of that, and emotion, things like that. So I totally get that. Rajan says, "Okay, Tiger call. Yes, good." He goes, "My man Mark is back." There you go, the fist bump.
There you go.
Marco, Walter Payton was one of the best of all time. Absolutely. So says, also under sports, question for you, Mark. He says, so how good are you at comic book hunting and buying? Like good or good or all-star good?
I'm good, I'll say. Well,
Right.
when something is getting optioned like a movie or TV show, that pretty much just drives the market to begin with. So when if there's a newly released show coming out, I'll go to the comic book store and try to find that first appearance or whatever, and usually unsuccessful, but I do know what to look for if we're talking like speculation wise with comic books. But I have my own grails, my own comics that just mean a lot to me, and I think that should be that's my primary focus. And some of them are, they're key books that I'm looking to collect. But yeah, I've come to appreciate hunting a lot more and just going to smaller cons and digging through long boxes. And but I don't think I would call myself an expert, but I know how to utilize an app and see what people are talking about and looking for.
I think as long as you're educating yourself on a regular basis, and I mean, hey, there's nothing like just digging through a long box and just taking hours in a day to just go hunting. Always a good time, no matter where you are. So I'm with you there. Hopefully, I'll there's an expo coming up tomorrow. I think I'm going to try to swing by, and try to do some digging myself. So very cool, very cool. Let's see. Do you have any cool concert experience, or give me one, one of your best concert moments or experiences that you've ever been to, or your favorite, I guess I should say.
There was one Blink-182 concert. It was one of their last shows when they had Tom DeLonge, and it was just ridiculous. They had Travis Barker on this thing that would like spin him upside down in the air, and
I saw it. I saw that tour. Yeah. That's awesome.
That was a crazy moment. I've been to multiple Drake concerts. Okay. And nice. What was that CD that released back in like 2015? I don't know. So some Drake cons. Oh, Drake actually, before he took off, I'll call it, like he had the song Successful, Baby You're My Everything.
I remember that
song. Yeah. Yep. That just dropped. I was in college. We had our MTV station. Like his videos were starting to get featured, but people still thought of him as the guy from Degrassi. Drake started his thank you tour at my college, Eastern Illinois.
Oh, cool.
And it was in this small, like intimate kind of like auditorium. Oh, wow. I still have the promo poster. I pulled it off of the dining hall. Like that was a cool moment because being able to go to one of the first shows before this artist completely takes off. Yeah. I would say that was a unique concert moment to attend that show, that he started one of his first tours that really got his career going at my school.
So I remember when that album came out and when he first hit the scene, and I remember everyone joking about the Degrassi comments. And I was just like, who is this dude? Different level, different sound, than ever before. And so I'm with you, and it's cool that you had that experience where you were able to actually catch that at your school, which is wild. And look where he is now, man. Started from the bottom, now he's there, pretty wild. Hey, we got Manny in the house. What's going on, Manny? He says, yes, all for the digging and not happy thumbs up for Whatnot. Not a fan of Whatnot. Understand.
I will also mention I'm a huge EDM fan as well. I took a Europe trip with four of my buddies back in like 2016, and we went to Ultra Croatia.
Oh wow.
Okay. And that was crazy. So I've been to a lot of big festivals. I actually was at Coachella when Tiger won the Masters that weekend.
Oh wow. Oh nice.
So whatever year that was. Yeah. So I've been to a lot of big festivals. So I have to mention that kind of music because it's been a big part of my life.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you listen to like DJs. DJ Snake is one of my favorite artists.
Nice.
And he Go ahead.
I was just I've gone through my stages of EDM, and I've done the club scene. Not many people know this, or I don't share this much often, but it's like, do you ever go to? Have you been to New York? Have you ever been out here to New York? Did you say you've been out
multiple times?
So have you ever been to Pasha, or have you ever heard of Pasha?
I've heard, yes.
Pretty famous. It's shut down now, but that was I've definitely had my days at Pasha, so I'll leave it at that. But yeah, so Coachella, all that stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff.
So we were in Split, Croatia for Ultra Music Festival. And they canceled day one because the winds were so crazy. Like the locals were like, this never happens here. So DJ Snake was playing. He was headlining that day, and we were bummed because we were looking forward to seeing him. Our last stop in our Europe trip was in Barcelona, Spain. And we're walking the street, and this is one of the last days we're there. And we see a promo poster, DJ Snake playing tonight at this club. And we're just like, oh my God, it's meant to be. So, and he dropped Let Me Love You because he collabed with Bieber for that song.
Oh,
he
cool.
dropped that when I was in the club in Spain. And that was just, I'm a Bieber fan. My wife's obsessed with Justin Bieber. She's met him
super
a few times
stuff,
and goes to all of his concerts. But yeah, that was a cool moment too, to see like a release of a song that blows up.
Oh, I bet that's really cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Manny here says, I miss listening to adult music. A lot of Baby Shark with my daughter.
all day for me too. I feel you, Manny. I feel you. It's nuts.
Yeah. Oh. That's why you got to get one. You got to get one earbud in your ear, even if you're, hanging out with the kids, and at least play a little something on the side while you're with the kids. I don't know.
It's gotten to the point where it just like goes in one ear out the other. Cocomelon is on at all hours in my house.
Oh man,
Baby Shark. Oh my God.
So funny. Brutal.
Yeah.
All right. Few last questions here, and then we'll wrap up. I know we're reaching the hour and 20-minute mark here. And Mark, I appreciate you hanging here.
Sure. Of course.
A two-part question. Do you drink coffee? And if you do, how do you like your coffee?
I never used to drink coffee, but I do now. And I used to try to do the man, like I'm going to drink it black kind of thing. It stains your teeth, your breath. Coffee kind of makes your breath stink to begin with, but yeah, black coffee, it's just too bitter. So I do, I'm a Diet Coke guy. So sometimes I'll throw Splenda in there and put a little creamer. I'm gross, whatever. But yeah, I don't take my coffee black anymore.
I love the self-judging going on right
now. Just like, why are you the way you are? God.
So good. We've all been through these roller coasters you described, so it's all good, man. No judge-free zone, I always say, or if I haven't, now I'm saying it. Are you a pet guy? Do you have any pets?
Yeah, I have a French bulldog named Moose, and he
nice.
He's a character.
Nice.
Bulldogs have this weird dog personality. They're all kind of the same. Like whether you have a pit bull, a French bulldog, an English bulldog, they all have these same mannerisms. But he's great.
Cool.
He was my first child, my first baby.
Nice. I like the name too, Moose. I dig it.
Yeah.
He says, "See, that's what I said. One day I'll drink black coffee." Yeah. But I've gone through my black coffee stages, and they do say it's healthier if you can stay away from the sugars and all that. But right now I'm kind of adding sugar as I go. Let's see. Let's see if I have any last minute random questions for you here. What is whatever comes to mind here? What is your favorite movie of all time?
Cliche again, The Dark Knight.
Okay, all right.
But
I mean, it's a great film, so I get it.
I'm gonna also say though, Ace Ventura.
Oh, classic. Yeah, man.
I
grew up on that stuff. Yeah,
grew up on comedies, Dumb and Dumber.
So good.
Yeah, classic.
So you're saying there's a chance? Classic. Let's see if what was my other one? Oh, this is so random, and I'm just going to throw it your way anyways. If you had to do one weekend chore, which of these three would you prefer? Either to clean the bathroom, cut the grass, or build an IKEA bookshelf for your books?
Would definitely be cut the grass because I do it every week anyways.
Okay.
So
it's easy.
But that is a task where I zone out. I I'm in my own thoughts kind of thing.
Sure,
It's
sure.
like if you're gonna say dishwashing, that probably would have been number one because
Okay,
I don't know what it is. It's just soothing, just being your own thoughts, washing dishes, just being stagnant in one place, doing something.
It's a little bit of me time. I get it.
Yeah, not the bathroom thing, the IKEA thing, building bookshelves and for my kids' room and my room and whatever. You're always leaving IKEA and you're like, oh, some guy could build this for $100. No way, I'll do it. Every time I'm like, oh, I should have paid that dude to come and build this for me. This was a waste of 3 hours because I built it wrong and now I got to take it apart and redo it and all that crap. But that's misery. That's misery right there.
Nightmare. Yeah, nightmare. I'm with you. Let's see. We get some answers here from some of the previous questions. Hot and Cold Tea for me. Coming to America, classic film. Absolutely. Sexual Chocolate. Steve shouting. Love it. All right. Last question here. We'll wrap this up. And I always like to close out with this question because I'm usually hungry at this time. So I torture myself and my guest. When it comes to food, Mark, what is your go-to meal for like a Saturday night? You're with the family, but you get to pick whatever you want, whether you're going out to dinner, you're ordering in, or you're cooking at home. What is your go-to Saturday night meal?
If I'm going out, it's steak. I usually go for the steak on the menu, depending on where we go.
Sure.
If I'm at home, can't go wrong with tacos. Doesn't have to be a Tuesday, but tacos are always a good go-to.
That's fair. I'm down with all that. Steak will depend. Like you said, where it is. If you're at like a Applebee's or something, you might want to stick to something different.
You fill up on the apps, you got the unlimited apps. You fill up on it.
But if you go to a nice steak restaurant, for sure, I'm down with that. So was predicting bad pizza. Ooh, a little shots fired. Okay. Shots fired.
I would have to travel out of the state to get some of that.
Mark sending it right back at you there, Michael. There you go. Raging says Chicago pizza. So there you go. Let's see. Oh, that's a good question, Mark. I'll ask this one. Justin and Mark, what is your what is your favorite superhero show currently? I'll change it as if you had to pick one. The Boys. Okay. Solid. Oh, yeah. Solid. I actually could not get into The Boys. I tried, and I may try again, but my girlfriend and I, we watched it that first season. We just couldn't get into it. I do want to read the books because I still hear it's an amazing story overall. And I'm just I don't know. I could not get into the characters, but I do want to try it again at some point. For me, I mean, superheroes. I mean, I'm really enjoying Kenobi right now. If you want to have that be under a superhero category, Obi-Wan has been, especially these last two episodes, really fantastic so far. So very nostalgic too, in a sense. So kind of cool in that regard as well. But great question, Marco. We are at the hour and a half mark. So I'm going to call it here. But Mark, dude, cool. I appreciate you hanging out. This was awesome. This was your first time on the channel. I hope it's not the last time. We definitely got to collaborate some more along the way. Before I let you go, let the folks at home know where can they find you, and do you have any events or shows coming up that you want to shout out?
Yeah, I'm going to be at Fan Expo actually in a few weeks. That's here in Chicago with my podcast. We're doing a live show on Saturday at 4:00. The Chumpcast. Nice. You can check us out on all social media platforms there. We record episodes weekly. It's on anywhere you can listen to a podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Nice. But check us out. As for personally, you can find me at Mark Nerdy AF. I'm on TikTok now, on Instagram, on YouTube. I'm just getting that channel going. I used to do our YouTube stuff for our podcast channel, but now I'm branched off to do my own Mark Nerdy AF channel and just posted a few videos. So go check me out there and subscribe if you wouldn't mind. I'm also attending SDCC this year in July, end of July. I'll be at New York Comic Con in October, and I will be at C2E2 in August. So you can, can come say what up there.
Very cool. Very cool. My man's all over the place. I will definitely see you at C2E2. I plan to go Friday and Saturday. I already got my tickets. So my girlfriend and I are actually going to go for like 6 days, though. Actually, we're going to go out there. I've only ever been to Chicago once. It was recently. It was for work. It was literally for 8 hours, and I flew back home. So I didn't get to see anything. So I'm looking forward to spending some time out there. We'll be right in the middle of all the fun stuff down in the city. So
cool. Yeah, let me know what you guys choose. I don't like to be that guy when somebody visits the city I grew up in to be like, no, you got to go here, wherever. But if you want advice, feel free to reach out. Let me know where you're staying. And I'm sure I know all the bars that are going to be around you. But I will say this is a great time for C2E2 because I feel like whenever it's in February or March, it's Chicago weather. It's usually shit. It's cold, rainy. Just doesn't put you in a good mood.
Yeah,
I will stand by it. Chicago in the summertime is, I think, the best place you can be.
Sweet.
Lake Michigan, everything. It's just people are in a different mood, and it is such a fun time. So if you were thinking of coming to C2E2, make it happen. You're not going to regret it.
Well said. And I'm excited. I am definitely looking forward to it. And perfect time of the year, as you're mentioning. Steve here. He says, Mark, good stuff. San Diego, I know he's going. He says, let's meet up. You guys should definitely hit each other up. Steve's a great guy. I plan to get out to the West Coast at some time. I was just telling Steve, actually, yesterday. We were talking a little bit, and I'm trying to get out there for next spring. So we'll see, 2023, be able to hit up a lot of these guys, because I see even Ragin, he's out there, too, on the West Coast. He also says, Mark, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Appreciate everybody hanging right now that is in the chat. If you are watching the replay, appreciate you watching the replay as well. Again, make sure you are following Mark and subbed up to him and the podcast. I put his information in the description below. Reach out to Mark over on Instagram, as that's how we started talking as well. So let's keep the community growing. Mark, again, appreciate your time. Looking forward to doing more with you, brother, and meeting you, in the summertime here for sure. So
thanks,
until
Justin.
next time.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Likewise. And I'm going to get ready for this Yankee game. So everybody be well. Have a great weekend. And until next time.